Welcome back to our St. Louis Blues rebuild in Franchise Hockey Manager 11. With around 9 games left in the season, we find ourselves in second place and comfortably in the playoffs. Right now, Nashville just trailing us by the 1 point, but we also have a game on hand. But it is pretty interesting to note that we're pretty on par with Minnesota Wild in terms of wins. They just have a couple more overtime losses than we do. Now, I don't see us being able to finish top of the division, but finishing second is light years from where we end up starting this season. I thought this season was going to be a rebuilding season, and I thought that I made some of the bad decisions to start it off, but it does seem like we managed to steer the ship back into the proper area where it needs to be. In terms of the whole league, though, we do find ourselves in ninth place, and I mean, with 88 points is pretty decent. We could see ourselves climb up as well, but I think probably the most that we can really hope for is maybe around probably around seventh seed or around 6 at the most, but I don't see us being able to beat Wild. So if another team kind of streaks a little bit, then we can probably pass them. But the good news is Boston Bruins also not doing very good. I mean, they're stuck around 67 points here. They could see themselves drop down. I know in recent memory, teams typically don't do that. Same thing with Rangers. They're around 60 points. They could find themselves to finish second last, which would be huge for us since we occupied their first round pick. And I really hope that that can happen. They're on a 2-game losing streak, and well, LA Kings are actually on a decent losing streak as well. We didn't make any transactions other than the ones we did last episode when we got rid of Artemonov and Romani. And then brought up Jonah and Benson as well, but we didn't see anyone that was really striking our fancy for the trade deadline. We couldn't even get players if we wanted them. But we're going to play the last couple games here. We start off with a 4-2 win against Colorado, so division rival for sure, helping us there. Neighbors with his 15th, Misa with his 17th, Forster with his 21st, and then Martoni with his 10th. So nice start to this episode. Augustin with 34 wins, he can easily see himself top 3 if we really push him hard enough. But Rimpinen also looking pretty decent, which is kind of crazy since I wouldn't have expected Rimpinen to be their goalie, at least of all for their franchise, and them doing that well though. So now we end up having to face off against them, and Rimpinen probably is the one. Oh no, Callie Kling is the one that ends up beating us, but 5-1 defeat is pretty rough. Only the goal in the first with Neighbors, assisted by Villeneuve and Stenberg. But and Spanberg is now hurt. If he misses the playoffs, fractured jaw, he's out for 1 to 2 months. The highlight of this season with 43 points, it's tough to see him now possibly going to the IR. That is a bit rough. So I'm gonna, let's delay treatment, see what ends up doing. But I kind of doubt that he'll be able to play for us, least of all this playoffs, maybe at the finals time, but I don't really see that likely happening. But we do find ourselves getting 90 points at the moment. 42 wins is pretty good, and I'll have to look at previous seasons to see if that does it. So looks like Spanberg can actually play. He's not going to be able to play every game, but the fact that he can kind of play a little bit, and I'm surprised that it would take him 1 to 2 months to be able to actually play. Another loss there is not ideal, but I think we might have not adjusted things properly. Stenberg with his 7th, and then Martoni with his 11th. So kind of hitting the losing skid at the wrong time. Nashville can possibly pass us here, but around 6 games left, and they do, so it means that they have a game at hand, or we have a game at hand that we have to definitely win, and it's probably going to be this one here. And facing off against Dallas here, we do lose 8-5, so not necessarily how we were envisioning this. Plaxton with his 10th, Neighbors with his 17th, Benson with his 7 and 8, and then Forster before just letting it go. Geez, we kind of made it close, and then we just absolutely shit the bed when it came to the third period. That's definitely rough to see. So find ourselves bumping down. We could even finish lower than Utah, which wouldn't be great. It would mean that we'd have a much harder seed. I'd rather face off against Nashville if I can help it. We can maybe climb back into this, but with Minnesota and Edmonton being the teams that we end up having to beat, it's going to be a little bit rough to be able to do that. I'm just hoping that this doesn't boil down. So it does look like he's not really going to be able to play. AI is not really picking him at 80%. And we at least managed to win that one 5-0. Forster, Vernhoff, Plaxton, Misa, and Dupont all on the score sheet there. So at least we managed to get that. So not all is lost for sure. 92 points though, and around 4 games left. We're still trailing Predators, which is pretty sad to see. We do have to face off against Winnipeg and Minnesota. One of them at the top and one of them at the bottom of the division. But obviously, we've had tough matchups against both of them. A 2-1 win here in regulation, so we do like to see that. Forster and Palika with the goal scorers there. And yeah, I think Minnesota, while is out of reach, there's no way that we're going to be able to pass them. But we can at least make it a fair fight against Nashville there. We're going to continue to adjust this as every day goes. But yeah, they have 4 more points. I don't think Nashville's going to be able to get caught. And we do find ourselves having to face away for probably the most of this series if we end up going far in the playoffs. Development report is what I want to end up looking at now. Peterson, 2 stars, 3-star potential. Forsman, 2.5 currently. And defensively looks okay. Kind of a shadow player. And Petrie here. Petrie I don't remember seeing, but probably one of those guys that we took a shot at. Petrie was 3rd round pick. So some of these 3rd round picks are definitely clawing their way into our depth chart here. Pevlin also looking pretty decent there. Only 18 points though in the AHL. Is a bit rough though, I will say that. Penkin, now 3-star. Improves his fighting though, so he's probably good enough to play for us. We might even want to move him up and maybe move... Yeah, I think we're going to move him up. Move Spanberg to the IR. He's probably out for a little bit. Yeah, and hopefully he can come back for the playoffs because that's what we're really hoping. But other than that, we definitely need to carry this team a little bit better. He might even be sent down once I do this. No, they left Penkin up, but he's not necessarily playing. So we face off against Winnipeg. Can we get the win here? And we don't. 7-6 shootout loss. Rough, to say the least. Dvorsky, Misa, and Neighbors score in the first, and Neighbors as well. Another goal. 2 goals in the first, and then second period we end up getting Neighbors. So Neighbors gets a hat trick, but it's not enough. We do score again in the third, but ultimately the game was already pretty much decided. We didn't manage to tie it. But Perfetti ends up beating us there. Olsen at least scored there, though, but Forster misses, and so does Meyer. I'm surprised those were the guys that we ended up picking to do the shootouts. But with 2 games left, I think all we need is 1 more win, and we can manage to clinch 3rd. And like I said, how this season started off, that's all we need. We need to win at least one of the next 2, especially one of them being against Utah. So if they lose, we're in it, probably. Well, possibly, actually. They have 1 game left and it's against us. Never mind. So they could, but we need to at least go to overtime in one of these games to manage to clinch it. I don't know why back-to-back is the last games. We lose 3-2 in overtime, so we at least get the point there. Villeneuve scores and Benson scores, but ultimately we lose out to O'Green. And now we face off against Utah, but it's already decided. We can't go lower than 3rd. And not the worst, the ending to this this season. I think we can probably still do pretty decent in the playoffs. Let's see if Penkin gets an opportunity. He does. We're just going to have to switch wall here and look at the stats to end the season after this. And we managed to lose 2-1 in regulation, so if there's an extra game, I'm not comfortable that we would have won that. Palika with the lone goal there, but ultimately 2-1 is not terrible in terms of goaltending, I will say that. But 96 points would put us probably in 2nd place in the Metropolitan, and probably not Probably a wild card in the East, I guess. But 113, 115, 116, that is crazy. Obviously, our divisions are a little bit easier anyways, but there's one division that's clearly worse off than everyone else. But 44 points, how many did we get last season? One more than last season, so step in the right direction. Goals for a little bit better, goals against a little bit better. So at least we can build on last season. It still says rebuild, and I find that odd. But I think we can manage to at least get a result here, maybe even go deep in the playoffs again this season. But if we end up losing now, it's not going to be necessarily the worst thing. I think we've made strides for sure. But 72 points for Bolduc. Gunler now second best with 68. Aaron Olsen with 56. And then Misa with 56 as well. Neighbors finishing almost identical to what he did last season. And then Dupont with a little bit better than last season. Forster, first season with us with 50 points, so worse than what he was with Philly. And then Martoni with, well, a little bit of an improvement, so I do like seeing that as well. Dvorsky, a little bit worse, and then, but probably less game, like probably less ice time if I had to guess. No, he actually got more and he got less points. So, needless to say, that is not what I was hoping. And let's see goalies, 901 and 912. So Wall finishing with 912, but obviously playing less games is going to help that, especially if he ends up letting in less goals. But 2.95 save percentage, or goals against average is roughly around the same. Just obviously more of a sample size for Gustin playing around 68 games. But 36 wins is not bad at all. So we do face off in the playoffs against Predators. I already know that. We'll take a look at how well everyone else is as well. And then we'll kind of take a look at Spanberg. Hopefully he's only a month out, which means that if we go deep, we could get this. No one's nominated for anything. I'm not surprised at all. But we'll take a look at the injury. If it says a month, we have a shot here. So we'll just go to roster. I always kind of lose that. Still 1 to 2 months. And yeah, injured since March 21st. So yeah, it's still pretty fresh. If it's like 45 days, I doubt that he ends up playing for us this season. But it is kind of rough that ends up happening. We can probably take him off IR and put him back onto the squad now that the playoffs have started. So we don't have to really worry about it. But I know AI is going to bump him off probably again. But we'll take a look at who else made the playoffs. And we'll also take a look at where everyone else ended up finishing as well. So our first game against Nashville will be featured there in just a moment. Let's move the Spanberg back onto the active roster and then see if he gets sent right back here, which is very possible. Oh, he is, yeah. So I guess since we didn't end up, since we had him on our roster and we ended up taking him off, or yeah, we took him off our roster, he's now red as opposed to yellow. So I'm guessing that he's never going to play for us this season. Minnesota Wild and Colorado, Nashville and St. Louis, Edmonton and Utah, and then San Jose and Anaheim. I'm really hoping that we manage to beat Nashville here. Philadelphia and Buffalo, Montreal and Detroit. So decent matchup there. And then Columbus and Florida, and then New Jersey and Washington. So some pretty good matchups there. To say the least. I didn't look at how the season ended. So Rangers finished third last, so they did go on a little bit of run at the end. And then Boston, I mean, bottom 7, I guess. Not the greatest, not the worst, but kind of stayed around the same spot as what they were before. But looking at our matchup against Nashville, we played them 4 times. We managed to win 2 there, lose 1, and then win the other one. So obviously that was with Spanberg, so we'll have to start this off strong away from home. Can we manage to do it with Augustin between the pipes? Game 1, 5-4 loss in regulation. So Dvorsky scores. Gunler, Olsen, and Penkin end up getting on the score sheet there. So not the start that we were hoping. But it is a long series. If we can have our say on that, and then Ryabov doing decent. 62 points in 65 games is pretty good. Maybe he can come up next season. Game 2 here in Nashville. Can we manage to tie it up? And we don't. 3-0, so even worse beat. No one ends up getting points, so we can't really even take any pros from that. The only pro is that we let in only 3 goals and possibly only 2 against the goalie. So we now have our work cut out for us at home, but our record at home was a lot better than it was on the road. So game 3, can we manage to at least put up a fight here? And we do. 4-1. Nice to see. So we end up letting in the first goal in the second period, but then the third period was all us. Forster, Christopher, Martoni, and Jonah end up getting on the score sheet there. So series 2-1. Let's see if we can tie it before we head back to Nashville. And I know we started off a little bit rough in terms of away games, so I'm really hoping that we can manage to maintain our strong home streak and manage to at least win a couple away. We do. We win 5-1 at home again. So we give up the first goal, but then we come back with Misa and Bolduc, and then Dvorsky, neighbors score, and then Dvorsky again in the third. So we have it tied up, heading back to Nashville. We know that we're going to have to win at least 1 away from home to manage to make this a series, and hopefully we can manage to get it here. If we can win 4 straight, that would be the perfect icing on this one. So we managed to win this one, game 5. We concede again first. Dvorsky ties it up. We go down 2-1, and then Benson and Dvorsky score. But Molendyk ends up tying it up, and then Benson with the OT winner. So we're definitely happy that we end up having Benson there. Don't think that he would have been able to get that opportunity otherwise. So we can manage to win it here. We do have the series lead here. We can win at home. Can we do it in game 6? And we don't. We end up losing at home here. Oh my god. So go down 3-0, 4-0, and then 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, and then 6-2, and then we give up another one. That is a rough game for sure. Can we manage to win now? We have to win 2 away from home. That was one that I thought they were going to be able to do it. But we now forced to go to game 7. We didn't force a game 7. We're forced to go to one. And can we manage to at least win this one? Can we win series here? Game 7 for all the marbles, and we lose 6-2. That is rough. Not even close. So again, giving up 4 goals first before you score 1 is definitely how you lose a series, in case anyone's watching. So our meltdown continues. I think since Spanberg got hurt, it's been a bit rough, and I don't know where this all of a sudden came from. We did not have any conflicts before. Yeah, like I said, harmony is a big thing. And Spanberg's setback for sure. I don't know where this harmony thing became an issue, but I don't remember seeing it this whole time. So the fact that there's still issues here is insane. And I don't even know who the issues are. Like, I guess it's Misa. Misa's the one who ended up doing something, apparently. And I didn't think Fyodorov was even on the team. That's wild. It came out of nowhere. I usually monitor this, so the fact that I didn't see any issues, and then all of a sudden it became an issue, is just wild. So we get knocked out here, and now we're going to have to see who's going to be the champion this season. Minnesota gets knocked out too. So we would have faced off against the easier matchup too. We would have also had a home ice advantage as well. Rough. So Buffalo ends up winning there. So does Montreal. No surprise there, but Washington knocking out New Jersey, and Panthers knocking out the #1 seed in that division is pretty wild though. So I mean, all in all, I don't really care who wins. It is a little bit bitter. I wouldn't mind, I guess, Nashville winning, because then that could tell you that we could have won the whole thing, where NHL math is concerned. We'll look at where the holes were in offense for sure. Well, and defense, I guess. So probably not good all around. And I can't even really blame it on injuries. I can only blame it on the one. So if that's a if that's how Spanberg is going to be for his career, then I am excited. But with him being hurt and with a jaw and not being able to play, I'm hoping that that's not how his career is going to be. And then Daniel here, I think is the one that we end up taking a chance on. I mean, defensive rating pretty decent. I do like that. He's a two-way forward. I'm hoping he can develop. That'd be great. Can have a little bit of a combination between anything, because I think what we're lacking is definitely defensive forwards. And I think that's the big difference for sure here. Yeah, Spanberg with the 43 points this season, he probably would have been very good. He started coming on late. Cool. Yeah, cool. Cool will probably be able to play next season as well. Looks like a decent goal scorer there. But everyone kind of developing is what I like to see. Looks like Buffalo could sweep Canadians. That is crazy. And now we have to see what ends up happening here. Obviously, we have the nominations, and it's always the same. I feel I'm just going to do Backstrom for no apparent reason, other than I did like him when he ended up playing. So we'll end up nominating Backstrom there. Washington up 3-0. Nashville and is tied with Colorado 4-0. Wow. So they beat Panthers there, and it doesn't look like they could get the job done. Oh, this is where... This is way late, though. This is crazy. He's involved in an off-ice incident after it already showed that it was an issue in Harmony. That is crazy. I hate that. I don't even know how that happened. So, the game already knew that there was going to be an off-ice incident before there was an off-ice incident. That is crazy. And he's not really a disruptive player, so I don't get why. Yeah. Yeah, it just shows that he's not loyal. There's no real reason why that should happen. Buffalo still up 3-2. Edmonton and Nashville up 3-2. And then Buffalo ultimately knocks out the Canadians, but they were the better team. Tied 3-3 between both of them. So it's a crazy battle in the West here. And Nashville ends up winning, and Edmonton does as well. So unlikely conference finals there. Washington up 1-0, Edmonton up 1-0. Edmonton might actually be able to win in this world. Washington up 2-0. And as I say that, Nashville's going to come back. Yeah, Nashville 1-1 here. 2-1 for Washington. If Washington can win, that is crazy. And up 3-1. So Ovechkinless Washington's pretty good. 4-1. So they're going to the finals. And it looks like it's going to be against Edmonton here, unless they can force a Game 7. Can they? That is the question. I don't think they do. I think it's going to be between Edmonton. 4-2 Edmonton. So Edmonton or Washington, I'm kind of hoping Edmonton wins. Edmonton up 1-0. They're the higher points team. 2-0. Is it going to be a sweep? 2-1. I think, and Bouchard looks like he's on the, or is it a different Bouchard? Could be Aiden Bouchard. But up 2-1 so far. 3-1, so they can manage to win it. Can go back to the West here. And what's going to happen? And it's going to pause right there. Of course it does. Hall of Fame ballots are probably going to end up superseding that. And yeah, once again, it's going to save before it ends up getting to the finals. But 103-92. You'd expect them to be able to win, for sure. Another click forms. Again, Harmony being a major factor there. I hate that feature. I hate it so much. I'm going to give Chris Oskey because we have his son in our prospects. Ovechkin as well because they're in the finals. Backstrom as well for the same exact reason. I don't... Bobrovsky did win one, but Letang won a couple more, so I'm going to put my vote on that one. And Edmonton ends up doing it finally. The first time that I've ever seen McDavid end up getting a championship with Draisaitl is pretty crazy. They haven't won since 1990, so 41 years since they end up winning. That is absolutely wild. Before we end up jumping off, we'll take a closer look at how everyone did in the playoffs. 7 points for Dvorsky, though, so he showed up. Gunler showed up with 6, Olsen with 5, Bolduc with 5, and Neighbors with 5, and Misa only with 3, so he was the hero last season. Couldn't quite replicate that this season, and ultimately we couldn't quite get it done, but I'm seeing a 56 here, so Chris Ferreau not doing great either. So we're going to have to take a look at our defense for sure for next season. If there's a free agent, we're going to definitely go hard for that. 3-4-0 with an 879 save percentage is not good at all. But he can only really build from this. I do think he's going to make strides next season. He did finish this season with 10 wins better than what he did last season. So obviously with more games, but with 10 more wins, and I think he can manage to at least establish himself a little bit more, hopefully get closer to that potential. But looking at it before the end of the season, we do have Zeleny or Zelezny coming up, and we have 3 first-rounders, and even Penguins, Capitals. Well, Capitals isn't going to really mean anything, but the Penguins one could mean a decent pick as well. But we do have players like Kuhl who could play next season. Even players like Ryabov and Zetterberg could potentially play for us as well. Osgood might come up, or Zeleny, or Zelensny. I don't even know how to say that. But in terms of defense, we don't really have much depth, so we're going to have to kind of take a shot on maybe a free agent, or kind of maybe even drafting one if we can. But we do have some okay talent coming up through the woodwork. But hopefully that kind of changes, and hopefully Spanberg can come back next season and come back strong, because I did like what we saw from the 20-year-old. But hopefully you guys like that. Unfortunately, we couldn't quite get it done this season. Early exit. Hopefully you can manage to build from this for next season. But leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and thank you for watching. Until next time.